Florida, and where we should be is up in the moon, because our astronauts should be getting close to coming out of their silent period. So they started to begin going around the backside of the moon at 2:40. They are further away from Earth than any human beings have ever been. That's the first thing that should be noted. Second, at 2:45 this afternoon, they began their orbiting the backside of the moon. Now, they are 4,000 to 6,000 miles away from the moon, as opposed to 200,000 miles away from the Earth. And they're not really in the moon's orbit, they're outside the orbit, but they still get a view, a much clearer view than obviously we can get, and a much clearer view than we've had before of the backside of the moon. And that, I guess, that looks at, that gives you some of it right there. Now, the problem is that right now, between 6:47, at 6:47, the blackout began. So right now, you can't communicate with them. And I don't think we'll be able to communicate with them for about a half hour. So that would mean around 6:20, they will be able to communicate with us.
9:20.
9:20. It's gonna be that long. So it's over an hour.
Oh, you're saying from?
How long is the blackout? 9:20 is when it ends. It ends around 9:20.
Oh, so it starts during this hour.
Well, it started at 6:47.
Okay.
So it's now about 7:02. So they're 13, 14, 15 minutes into what I think is a 30-minute blackout. And you want to check that? I think it's a 30-minute blackout. I'm pretty sure. It's going about 20,000 miles an hour, Ted.
That's hard to imagine.
Yeah, it's
40 to 41 minutes.
40 to 41 minutes. So then about 8:30 they should be.
No, if it started at 6:44, that means it ended at around 7.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it did end. I'm sorry. You're right.
24. Yeah.
So now they're communicating.
Last hour, we must have been last hour, last show.
So they're communicating now.
It appears so. Let's see if we can see what they're saying here.
Couple of
And they have,
those include their
and they've got about an hour and 20 minutes, an hour and 17 minutes left. About an hour and 17 minutes left in their trip around the moon. So we will. Well,
Going by there now, so maybe we'll put some images.
so it's really very good news, because there was a lot of fear. I mean, a certain amount of fear. I can't say excessive in any way, but there's always a little worry when they're not communicating. What will happen? Will they be able to continually communicate? Won't they? And I would say that has now been solved. Well, it was quite a surprise to see these Iranian relatives of Soleimani, a murderer of Nazi level, Goebbels and people like that.
Right.
That his niece and the niece's daughter are both in the United States. Not only that, they bash the United States constantly. That's the religious Muslim woman that is his niece's daughter. One is named Hamadeh Soleimani Afshar, and the other is Serena Sadat Hosseini. And I think that's Serena Sadat Hosseini. They both have received green cards in the United States. They both were let in under allies of the Iranian regime, who were among the major funders of the Iranian largest supporter of terrorism in the world, governments, and that was Obama, who gave them hundreds of millions in cash, and Biden, who gave them hundreds of millions just in general. That looks to me like the kind of outfit where Soleimani in Iran wouldn't just kill you, he would stone you, beat you, probably give you over to the IRGC or Quds Force for appropriate rape. Now, you would say, well, my goodness, maybe they were escaping. Maybe these hoes here were escaping the unbelievable inhumanity to women that's practiced in Iran. Well, no. I mean, if that were the case, the Biden and Obama wouldn't have let them in. You go, we know what side they're on, as an Israeli once told me. They've been bashing the U.S. since they came here. Denise herself has referred to us as the Great Satan. She celebrated the attacks on U.S. soldiers and military bases. She promoted Iranian propaganda. She praised the new supreme leader, the most recent one, the one that we're not sure if he exists, the gay one, I think. She has denounced, she uses the phrase Great Satan often, and she's voiced her unflinching and undying support for the IRGC and the Quds Force. She has a massive amount of jewelry, a Louis Vuitton hoodie, manicured nails. There's a picture of her chugging a bottle of champagne. Her husband, who's not been named, has now also been barred from the United States. And I do know that the daughter, the one you saw dressed in what would be the kind of clothes that would have her slaughtered in Iran, has been arrested by ICE. Oh, that terrible, terrible ICE arrested them. I wonder if the mayor of New York will be seeking their release. What do you think? We'll have to check. I'm sure there's going to be a great outcry that they've been thrown out of the United States. I mean, after all, terrorists have a right to free speech, don't they? And she, the daughter, the one dressed up like a hoe, was driving with a neighbor named Halasius Bradford. Maybe somebody should investigate Halasius Bradford as well, because we sure have a hell of a lot of spies. We have a hell of a lot of spies. The older one came in 2015. I mean, it's only appropriate that one came in under the appeaser and terrorist supporter Obama in 2015, and the other came in under the auto pen that supported Islamic terrorism. We can't say we don't know if Biden did or he didn't, because we don't know if Biden knew. He may have said things, but we don't know that he understood them. We sure know he didn't sign them. So the best we can do is the auto pen and his Politburo, his unknown Politburo, was certainly very, very supportive of the Iranian regime. Now, they've gone back and forth to Iran 4 times. Now, what the hell will we allow that for? the they were granted asylum and they got a green card. And they've been photographed in bikinis. They have stomach tattoos. They've been on jet skis. The younger one was clubbing in Miami, vacationing in Alaska, and partying in Las Vegas. And the older one was reposting regime messages and cheering the murder of the dissidents, the MEK dissidents, by the way. When the president says that under Democrats, this country was made into a sucker country, that's mild. That's mild. Letting these hoes run around like this. And it gives you an idea of how legitimate the religion really is, right? When the heck are we going to just tell the truth? Allah, pagan god. Muhammad going up to see Gabriel bullshit. Muhammad is a mass murderer. Muhammad encouraged mass murder. He not only encouraged it, but it resulted in 1,400 years of it, including immediate genocides right after him. And nobody should be following a religion like this. All it's going to do is create the situation that it's creating. That a lot of people escape it is pure luck. But they have the better argument as to what the Quran says, meaning the killers and the murderers and the pedophiles. And so everyone on Artemis is doing well, right?
Right. So far, so good.
So just a little review. Martin Gura in the Post says that Donald Trump excels as a cheerleader, not as a teacher or explainer, because he's a man bereft of doubt, who has trouble understanding the uncertainties that haunt the rest of us, mere mortals. I don't know if that's absolutely true. It is true that his best explanation of it, and it was excellent, came last week, and most of us felt that should have been done earlier. And we all have strengths and weaknesses. The president is very transparent and his goals are quite clear. But I think it's fair to say that he didn't lead America through this as an educational function, because I don't know that he thought it needed it. And I'm not sure I did either, for that matter. I'm surprised that people have such trouble understanding why it's so necessary to take these animals out. Animals having, particularly vicious animals, having nuclear weapons is not a good idea. So he answers the top questions. Why do we attack Iran? Because Iranians have killed thousands of us and want to destroy us, and are preparing to do it. And since they hide things and lie, and the whole world, the system, in doing it, they have no idea when they're going to do it. So we don't want to be sitting there thinking, oh, gee, we should have done it yesterday, as the world gets destroyed. Why now? Well, because they were rushing to make their missiles longer and longer and longer. That's for sure. And because we had them on the ropes, a series of circumstances that started occurring with the very, very unwise attack on Israel began the deterioration of the empire that they put together. So they were in the weakest position they could possibly be in. And should we let them revive, we might not have another chance to really stop them without tremendous consequences for us and for the rest of the world. Is this an illegal war? If it's illegal to take out a regime like this, we're going to have to change the law. And international law, after all, is flexible. A war is really either just or unjust. The Ayatollahs have threatened death to America every week for 47 years. They have killed thousands of Americans. They threaten to kill more. And whether it's our business or not, it always does become a consideration. They have and continue to kill more of their own people than any other nation on earth, with the possible exception of China. And they have, and they train and continue to assist and use proxy groups that kill Americans and our allies. So if this war is illegal, any war against bloodthirsty, murdering savages that kill you and threaten to continue to kill you and your allies would be illegal. And what does it matter if it's illegal? Because it's just, and there really is no international law. We are not bound by it because we are a more moral and a more lawful country than the international community, which is completely corrupt, like the United Nations. Is Israel calling the shots? Yeah. Trump is being bossed around. You can really see that. How asinine. Is the U.S. losing once again? We've lost 13. They've lost, they say 2,000. But even if it is 13 and 2,000, we're losing the war. We just extricated 2 of our pilots from right under their nose. We've taken out their chief of state. We're hardly losing the war. The war is not over, but we're hardly losing the war. That is the most insane Trump derangement syndrome shit that I've ever heard. What's the Strait of Hormuz and why should we care? Well, it's a good question. Maybe we shouldn't. It does have a reverberating effect on the price of all oil, but much worse on others than us. And since the world is a question of relative prices, I don't know long term if we made the adjustments, if it would matter to us. I mean, the price would be higher, but we'd be making money in many, many other areas. For example, our oil would become much more valuable. And we are one of the major oil producers, and we could be even more, and we are headed to being even more, which is what Trump very wisely did the first day he came in before he reversed the auto pen. What's the story with Europe and NATO? Maybe NATO has run out of being useful. Just because it has a history, and the history many people think is excellent. I'm not so sure it's so excellent. But in any event, history of America is excellent. What the hell have they done? Now, England, Australia, and Canada used to help us. The rest of them have been screwing around since forever. Put aside the Eastern European countries who are new entrants into it. And I would certainly, if I were going to get out of NATO, I'd immediately make a treaty with all of them, starting with Poland and including the Czech Republic and Hungary and Lithuania and Latvia and Estonia and Finland, and all of those. All those who willingly and very quickly put in their 5%, I would say, okay, let's have it. Now, as to England and France and Italy, and I would put them, I'd end the treaty with them, or end the treaty and start a new one, and let them work their way back in if they want. And I'd keep Spain out until they got rid of their Chinese communist, Russian authoritarian-loving asshole who is their president. Why doesn't the king pick them up and toss them out? How and when will the war end? When we win. Like Ronald Reagan said, we win, they lose. That's real simple. And I think there are I think I can now look at what's going on and I can see the end. Can't tell you exact day, hour, but I can see the end. There's nothing left. There's nothing left. Yeah, sure. They can shoot some people. I mean, the Japanese hung on in the jungles for like 5-6 years after the war because nobody told them it was over, and they killed a few people. But if you think they have the resources to make some major comeback, and we will never have a better opportunity to get rid of this regime. And if we don't get rid of this regime, our children will be facing the same challenge. So for our children's sake, let's do the coup de grace and get rid of them all. And I do hope we don't delay after Tuesday. I hope Tuesday is not another, let's put it off 2 more weeks. They are on the ropes. They've been on the ropes for several weeks, months, certainly weeks. Right. And this is the time to do the major flurry of punches you do when you finally finish somebody off, right? No reason to hold back to see if the guy will just take the guy will just call a halt to the fight, knock him down so he can't get up again. This ideology should never, ever be allowed to get up again. And if we do that, we will set back China and Russia. You think China, after we defeat the hell out of them and put them in total submission, is going to attack Taiwan? And do you think Trump wants to be the president that loses Taiwan after all this? What, are you crazy? I mean, people, the Taiwanese are worried about, will Trump defend them? Trump is not going to be the American president who gave up Taiwan to the Chinese and began to fuel their insane ambitions. I do think they're going to hold off the Chinese, as he says, and I think that gives Japan plenty of time to put together a military that takes some of the burden off us, and there's a hell of an alliance for us. The the Pacific Treaty Organization, PTO. We'll join the PTO, Pacific Treaty Organization. U.S., Japan, South Korea, Philippines, Vietnam. Yep, you got a whole bunch of countries in there that would love to join you, that don't like them. They don't like them. What would you say if Russia joined that, Ted? What would you say if Russia joined the alliance against China?
Wouldn't that be something? I mean, I feel like.
I mean, if
there was one point where
if Putin is such a historian, right?
Yeah.
And he wants to put together the Russian Empire. Well, maybe he's got to give up on that because things have just changed. And he's got if he handled it right, he's got a big country. It could be a rich country. He's the one that's causing it to be poor. If he'd be satisfied with what he's got, he could help destroy China.
Right.
He'd have to give up any further desire to take any more land, which might be impossible. Might be impossible that he would do that. I don't know. But I can see it. And it may have to wait for after Putin. I'm not saying this is a likely scenario. I'm saying in the vagaries of history that none of us can predict completely, and which sometimes follow patterns and sometimes don't follow patterns. I could see a Russia joining a Pacific alliance against China and being post-Putin being satisfied with the Russian boundaries and stop this romantic silliness about putting together Peter the Great's empire. Peter the Great was a long time ago, and George III was a long time ago too. And Keir Starmer might think he's going to put together a British empire, but I mean, he'll be the only one with fighting. The other guys will be fighting to take over the Middle East because the country is going to be a Muslim country pretty soon. And I know the president really likes Charles III. Is it Charles III? Yeah, the third, right? The other two Charleses were killed, I think. But and I don't wish that he be killed. I really don't. I always thought he was this silly left-wing foppy man, but I surely don't wish that he'd be killed. I think his mother. Oh, I can't say this. I wonder if she wondered if she could outlive him. There was all the talk that she really hoped it went right to William, who's a lot tougher. We'll have to see. Here I am. They're going to probably take my knighthood back. But you really think they should have a monarchy anymore? Why don't they pay off the family, let them go off and be rich, and forget it? I mean, maybe the idea of having a monarchy helps them from staying non-Muslim, although everybody in England is angry at Charles for not giving an Easter message, but giving some kind of a Ramadan message. If we start seeing him showing up in Mohammed dress rather than the king skirts and dresses that they wear, we're going to be really. But he could take over. He could take over the Muslim religion in England, the way Henry VIII took over the Catholic religion. They do share a few things in common, although Henry VIII is a poor man's Muhammad. I mean, yes, he was a murderer, but the numbers are much less than Muhammad. No evidence he was a pedophile. Muhammad definitely was a pedophile. Murderer, yes. Pedophile, no. Adulterer, yeah, for sure. Debaucher, yes. So they have a lot in common. I mean, I always found in my studies of religions very hard to understand the Anglican Church. I understand the Protestant Reformation, and there was an interesting podcast I listened to this weekend about whether the Protestant Reformation was a good thing or a bad thing. This is from two English bishops who have become Catholics. One of them thinks the Protestant Reformation was a big mistake, and that the Counter-Reformation would have happened anyway, and was in the process of happening. And you would not have had this division in the Church of Christ, which is supposed to be one church. That's what Jesus ideally hoped to set up. The other felt that it had some very, very good aspects to it, and some very bad ones. Bad ones being the movement in Europe toward materialism, and the relentless attack on spirituality, and recognition of a higher authority. That in essence, Protestantism was you have your own relationship with God. Get anybody out of the way of it, because you're important enough to figure it out all by yourself. Now, doesn't that get you pretty close to the original sin? I'm so smart. I can be really smart if I eat of the tree of fruit and knowledge. I can be smarter than God. Well, I can be smarter than the church that existed for 1,400 years. We don't need them to help us with this enormously complex revelation we have to deal with. We can all figure it out all by ourselves. So what did it become? Whatever I wanted it to be. And is that religious spirituality or narcissism? And then it fractured. The Church of Christ became Christ, really not God. He's just a good guy. The Eucharist really isn't his body and blood. It's just a little piece of bread, and we don't really have to have it, even though you're supposed to be literal translators of the Bible, right? Protestants are literal translators of the Bible. And you may not like it, and it may be really difficult to understand, but there's no version of the Bible that doesn't quote Jesus Christ as saying, this is, the verb is my body. This is my blood. The remembrance of me is said afterwards as the reason why you should continue to do it. He didn't say, this blood is a remembrance of me, or this wine is a remembrance of me, and this bread is a remembrance of me. He said, this is my body. This is my blood. Then I could go through all kinds of biblical reference. Unless you eat my body and drink my blood, you will not have eternal salvation. Gee, I didn't say that. The literal Bible that Protestants follow to a fare thee well says that, except they don't follow that. So let's see what happens. There are now more Catholics in England than Anglicans. The Catholic Church in Nigeria is up to 30 million Nigerians. Okay, well, we're going to take a short break, and then we're going to come back with.
We're going to have our old friend Seena Saiedian, our old friend who's actually in law school. So he's young.
Yes.
But he's a policy advocate with the Organization on Iranian American Communities. We've had him on before, and he's grown some facial hair. So
good. Well, he wants to look older. He wants to look older and wiser, but he's pretty wise anyway. We'll be right back. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month.
Wow.
Including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news, even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax, channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly, where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee. Welcome back to America's Mayor Live. And we have Seena. Oh, there he is. Oh,
Hey, Mayor,
my
how are you?
goodness. What's that?
I've been too busy in the
What's all
library
this stuff?
studying.
What's all this?
Been too busy studying in the library, but I gotta shave soon.
You want to look more mature?
Yeah.
You're pretty mature, you know.
Thank you.
So tell us where you think we are, and then I'll tell you where I think we are.
Yeah, well, there's of course the conflict that's ongoing, but I think the newest thing that I've seen lately is the announcement of the execution of 6 members of the MEK over the past several days, which to me it really highlights 2 things. One is that the Iranian people and human rights considerations should still remain at the forefront of the U.S. strategy. Of course, in January, President Trump correctly drew that red line, saying that the regime will pay a price if it kills protesters. We saw then that tens of thousands of protesters were killed. To this day, they continue targeting their own people, and I think it's prudent for the administration to enforce that red line. Second is, I think the critical element that needs to be recognized in U.S. policy is the role of the Iranian opposition. You know, the regime's actions are indicative of its priorities. And this targeting of the MEK, whether it's through propaganda abroad, through assassinations, and through actual executions, suggests that the regime fears what they represent. And I think it's important to remember that when Khamenei was eliminated, the MEK announced a campaign to reconstitute the National Liberation Army, or the NLA, which was a formidable force throughout the 1980s, had an armed faction to fight back against the regime. Of course, the NLA was disarmed in Iraq in the 2000s due to the appeasement policy, but I think the legitimacy and the urgency of a true armed resistance for freedom is still imperative.
The last 2 to be killed, were they people who were arrested for recent protesting?
I believe so. The names that I've
seen, the first 4,
yeah,
go back a bit. They were in and out of prison. One of them was in and out of prison a few times, and they may have repeated it now, but they had a history of being arrested by the IRGC. But the last 2 look like they were picked out of recent protests.
Yes, and I think especially the one that was either yesterday or early this morning that was announced. Ali Fahim, I think, was one of the young ones that was involved in the uprisings recently. But like you mentioned, these are people who have been long involved with the resistance and in and out. And we've seen images and videos of them speaking openly about their support for the NCRI and MEK. So these are folks that have been involved recently, but also have had a long history of it as well.
The reason I asked was they would fit, if you want to be very literal, they would fit into when the president said, if you execute any of these protesters, you're going to have hell to pay. And the first 4 were executed. They may have been protest, but they were executed for specious charges that go back a while. But these 2 were executed for current protests. And also, how many? It's horrible that they killed 6 people, but they killed a lot more.
Yeah.
I mean, there are still missing the people, some of whom had to have been killed when they made the raid on the Ayatollah's headquarters a couple of days before we attacked. I thought they lost about almost 100 people.
Yeah, something like that, 100, 150, something like that. And
they didn't think they were all killed. They thought some were taken.
Yeah. I think the reporting has been that many were taken, some were killed in action, and others remains unsure what their fate is. And I think the 2 takeaways from that are, one, again, I think it shows the formidable force that they had. This is I think incredible show of force to take an attack on the Supreme Leader's compound just days before the U.S. and Israel launched their campaign. Shows that there is a large force that is armed, that's willing to rise up. And second, I think it goes back to your point of there are still people who are being, paying a price for this, who are dying in action. And I think that goes back to what the president announced in January, that every single life that is lost, the regime has to pay a price for it and be held accountable.
The 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, we really, it's very hard to know. Just an incredible amount of killing during the protests that continues. Most of them were just killed in the street.
Yeah.
They weren't executions. They were just slaughtered in the street without even a charge.
Yeah. And the regime shut down the internet, and still to this day, internet is not on. And I think a large part of the reason they do that is to be able to just indiscriminately mow down people and hope that they can stifle the spread of information outside of the country.
I did notice that, I'm not sure it was all of them, but several of the 6 that were killed had lawyers who were not allowed to communicate with them. And there's no actual evidence they ever even got a make-believe trial.
Yeah.
Used to be MEK got make-believe trials. Now they don't even get make-believe trials.
Yeah, and I think the regime is using the fact that there is this ongoing conflict to hopefully divert the attention of international media. While everyone's focused on the war, they can get away with rapidly executing people. I mean, it's the same playbook that they used in 1988, where coming off the heels of a long war with Iraq, they start executing tens of thousands of people that culminated in the execution of 30,000 in 1988, and using, again, this backdrop of war and confusion and uncertainty to get away with it with impunity. And I think that's what's happening today. I mean, already this year, likely upwards of 30 to 40,000 have been killed in some, with the protests in January through to what's happening today.
What do you think of the Europeans and the Americans? Let's say this is an illegal war.
Well, I think there's 2 things to be clear about here. First is the actual U.S. national security objective here, and second is the human rights campaign. From a U.S. national security objective, we have seen time and time again that the appeasement policy has created an Iranian regime that has pursued nuclear weapons with impunity and has funded and armed terrorist organizations that have attacked American interests repeatedly. This stretches back for decades, and I think the United States is taking the logical consequence of this operation has been that you have to actually use military force to fight back against those aspects of the regime. But second, from a human rights standpoint, is that everything that we're seeing right now, all the devastation in Iran, is largely due to this regime that has abandoned its own people to pursue things like nuclear weapons and terrorism at all costs, to try to protect the inner core of the regime. And this human rights catastrophe is not going to go away as long as this regime is in power. So I think the Americans and the Europeans who are concerned about humanitarian concerns in this conflict really need to pay attention to the end game, which has to be regime change, to get rid of this regime and help facilitate a transfer to democracy.
Where were they during the Serbian war?
Yeah.
I mean, the Serbian atrocities in terms of numbers and length of time and would pale in comparison to this regime that's 47 years. There probably isn't a year in the 47 years that they haven't committed more human rights violations than just about any country on earth but China.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think it's important to remind these folks that when we talk about regime change, we're not talking about a US-led, US-imposed regime change. We're talking about regime change by the people of Iran. This is something that the people have asked for years, and they have an actual organized opposition. So folks who are concerned about human rights and concerned about the humanitarian aspects of this conflict should really be paying attention to the people who are on the ground, who have been organizing for decades to lead that resistance. And we would identify, I think, the MEK and the NCRI as the best candidates for that. But what you really need is a mobilized ground operation inside the country led by Iranians. And that means recognizing a fundamental, human maxim that dates back to, our own Declaration of Independence talks about this, is that when a government has failed to be the representative of the people not only have a right, but a duty to liberate themselves through any means necessary. And I think that means recognizing the right of the MEK to reconstitute the National Liberation Army and to actually fight back against their captors, which is in this case, the regime.
We were distracted a little bit from a campaign that's very promising. And that last Tuesday and Wednesday, maybe even into it might have been Wednesday and Thursday, United States and Israel conducted a joint operation to take out IRGC and Basij headquarters in more of the remote parts of Iran, because they've had put so much concentration on Tehran. I think they feel that there's a better chance that the dissidents can take over in some of these more remote communities where the IRGC is not as heavily represented, the Basij is not as heavily represented, and they were having some degree of success. I think they had to divert that over the weekend to do the rescues.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to continue. And so I think there's much more of a understanding within the Trump administration and also with the Israeli forces that there is a group on the ground that if it gets enough of an opening, could take advantage.
Yeah, and I think these things often happen when you least expect it. It happens unplanned, organically. And we have the example of Syria for that, when after 10 years of conflict, no one was expecting Assad to go anywhere. And then within the matter of a week, city after city falls, and Assad is on a plane to Russia. I think you can see a similar situation here, where after this campaign ends, you have a regime that has lost not just the top rung of its leadership, but really all the bench warmers are gone too. And now they're just fighting for scraps to see who can they put up there as a figurehead, or even the leadership of the IRGC for that matter. And so you have a significantly hollowed out regime, significantly hollowed out security apparatus. And all you need is just a couple small villages to take over a local police office, take over a local small military base, get some small arms that can rapidly escalate.
I would imagine that's doable in a number of places right now. If you don't concentrate on the big cities. Well, this has been very, very useful. We'll be back to you again.
Yeah.
But then
great to always catch up.
We're going to have it down here then. You look good. God bless you. And God bless you.
You as well.
He's doing a great job for his people. It's wonderful to see people fight for their people. So let me bring you up to date on a couple of things. The president is pressing very hard for the $1.5 trillion more in the defense budget. This is a good time. You might as well take it. Like we're trying to take advantage of Iran at a time of, you would say, well, why the war now? Well, because let's fight the war when we have the best chance of winning it, dope. We could have had the war any time in the last 47 years. Near the beginning, there might have been better opportunities to defeat them. For example, when they were tied up in the Iran-Iraq war, that might have been a time that we could have taken advantage of. But lately, there didn't appear to be a good time to take it. They were getting stronger and stronger and stronger. Israel exposed their paper tiger status because these proxies that they had organized were not nearly as invulnerable as they appeared to be. So now you have them down to an easier task where the casualties to us and our allies or our ally will be much less. Why wait for the inevitable? So the 1.5 trillion for our budget, I don't see, although the Democrat Party is so evil and so hateful and so anti-American. Normally, you would say, with the great victories that we're having, with the unbelievable success of the rescue operation, this would be a perfect time to ask for an increase in the military budget. But maybe it's the perfect time to get the Republicans to act unanimously for once. I mean, maybe we'll even get Murkowski's vote. It is for America, Senator. The military will be there when Trump is gone, if it makes you feel any better. Saturday Night Live. I was on Saturday Night Live. I really wish I never was. I am so disgusted with them. Here it was, Holy Saturday night. Many people had already gone to their Easter Mass for the Saturday Vigil. And in many parts of the world, Easter had already come. And they put on one of their sons of bitches to really suggest that it'd be a good idea if Trump were killed. What the hell is wrong with you? What the hell is wrong? That's not funny. Well, do we have that, Ted?
President Trump attended the opening night of Chicago at the Kennedy Center, and I think that's cool that the president is going to the theater. I mean, what's the worst that could happen?
To get people in communist New York to clap for that is perverted, disgusting, and it shows you're a very bad person. I'm actually discouraged to see that. Does Lorne Michaels still run SNL? He was a friend. Boy, that was a mistake. I misjudged him. This is a man they've attempted to kill twice. There also are, you wouldn't have any idea how many threats there are on him. Nor do you have any idea of the absolutely insane people. Or maybe you do. But to spend the night before Easter, hey, any night, telling a joke about the Lincoln assassination and applying it to Donald Trump, you should get the hell off television. And I don't care what you did in the rest of your career. You're a very bad person. Like immoral, amoral, like not the liberal, left-wing humanitarian you think you are. In fact, you're just the opposite when you encourage the death of people, aren't you? Phony. What a bunch of phony jackasses. That's not funny. That is not anything other than worthy of extreme condemnation by civilized people and decent people who find human life sacred, not animals like you on SNL who think you're smarter than everyone else. That wasn't very smart either. It wasn't particularly smart, it wasn't funny at all. And all it does is reveal that there's something seriously wrong with you, Lorne Michael. Well,
We have our friend Madeline with us live in studio.
Madeline is about to go to England, she told me.
That's correct.
Madeline Hecht. She's been on
Hello.
before.
Thank you
Everyone
for
knows
having me.
Madeline. And you're leaving when, Madeline?
I'm going back on Wednesday. I probably
Going
shouldn't
back.
say
Now,
that.
Do you live, when you say back, do you consider that you live in England?
I have a place there that I spend a lot of time there.
So what do you consider, so what's your home?
Oh, I on a plane the majority time. But Florence is my residence and Palm Beach is also
and
my
you
other
vote here.
residence. And I was born and raised in Guatemala. My father's from New York. My mother was from Mississippi. I'm an American as it gets and as
Yeah.
international
yeah.
as it gets.
But you're a world traveler.
I am.
Yeah, I mean, really, it isn't confined to England, but England is the second place you go the most. Would you
Well, I
say?
used to love it. I love
I did
England.
too. I used to, my favorite trips used to be England,
Mhm.
Israel,
Mhm.
and Italy.
And Italy. That's the other place I live.
Italy, because maybe my background and the emotion of it, but also I'm an opera lover.
I'm well aware of that.
I love Italian food.
Who does it?
And of course, I like the Italian people because they're all my relatives.
Right.
Israel, because there's no group of people I admire more in the world than the Israelis, except maybe the Americans. And that's been true since I was very young. It only increased during my lifetime. And England, because so much of our law and culture emerged from them.
The Magna Carta.
Yeah. And They seem such the Battle of Britain, such brave people. I was there when they were attacked. On the subways and buses. I was there that day,
Really?
and I went on television to calm them down. It was just odd that a guy from 9/11 was there.
Well, I mean, if anybody's going to be, it's going to be you.
Yeah, and Tony Blair put me on TV. I was a block away from where one of the bombs went off. And I was at a venue, and across from me was Benjamin Netanyahu giving a speech. He wasn't prime minister then, giving a speech. I was giving a speech. And my head of security, John Huvane, came in and said, I think there's been a bomb on the subway leading into the station right here. And I said, well, let me continue to talk. And when you know, let's not get people upset. When you know, come in and we'll try to do what we can to have an orderly. So we did. We did an orderly thing, and we helped Netanyahu across the way. And then I called Prime Minister Blair was up in Scotland at a meeting in Scotland. And I got him on the phone, and I had gotten to know him quite well after 9/11. And he said, would you meet? I'm coming back to London, but would you meet with my people? I think it would be very encouraging for the people of England, particularly London, to know you're here and that you're talking to us. And
Of course.
we remember that you credited Prime Minister Churchill for a lot of your
One of the greatest men.
copy what he did, and the British people. They could hear that again. I said, well, sure, and I did, and I felt such a closeness to them. So now, what has happened? Tell me how bad it is. And I was on with Piers Morgan the other day, and Piers told me I'm exaggerating. I said to him, in 10 years, Charles III could be a emir or something, or an Ayatollah, who knows what, Ayatollah Charles I.
Well, I'm going back, so I can't really say anything towards him. I think.
No, I didn't mean
king.
that he would do it voluntarily.
No, but
maybe he would.
did.
He seems like he likes to.
He did congratulate and praise everybody for Ramadan, towards the end of Ramadan. And, usually, the Queen used to give speeches for Easter. We didn't get that this year, did we?
Why would you, as the head of a Christian church, want to celebrate a religion that hates you, that says in its main book that you shouldn't be friends with Christians?
Well, everybody should be friends with each other.
Well, no, Muhammad didn't think so.
No.
In fact, he basically said, when push comes to shove, slit their throat. Not just the Jews. And of course, because there are so many more Christians, you want to just add up numbers. They've killed a lot more Christians than Jews.
Oh, they have, by far. And now look what's happening in the UK. Look what happened with the ambulances that got blown up. And you saw what Keir Starmer said, in saying that it was inciting Islamophobia. Those are not exact words.
A lot of I am told by people like we have on, because we don't have a lot of information from Iran, but we have more information than most people, meaning Ted and I get more information than most people from Iran.
Of course.
And I don't think they're just telling me this. They're leaving the religion in massive numbers. They're leaving the religion. A lot of them are becoming Christians. A lot of them are just leaving the religion.
Well, even the people that are part of it don't even believe in it.
They're not naturally Muslims.
Exactly.
They were conquered. They were Zoroastrians, and they did their first genocide against the Zoroastrian people. And they literally eliminated all the Iranian Zoroastrians, to the extent that, like the Jewish people did during the Holocaust, the Zoroastrians 1,000 years before fled to Iraq, and they fled to Pakistan, and they fled to, so they were able to retain a much reduced religion.
Right.
But they were wiped out completely in Iran. And the goal was to it couldn't have possibly been the first genocide. I think there were several planned genocide. Well, of course, the Egyptians had a genocide plan for the Jewish people.
Yeah, they did, but that was way back then.
Yeah.
Now look at this. It's craziness to, for the 12ers to really believe, like Ahmadinejad, like when he believed that, to bring nuclear war into into the world so that they can meet, the Mehdi.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
we have been very, very bad at taking monsters at their word,
well,
which always seemed to, and from the time I was young and read about Churchill and even Kennedy's book, Why England Slept, I've been very, very aware of the fact that we just have a natural tendency toward appeasement. Just a natural tendency toward it. It really comes out of, maybe more people in government are cowards than they are brave.
I have an opinion on that. I actually believe, when you have faith in whatever religion you have with good intention, we do better in life. We have better values. We have more morality. We have, integrity. People that don't follow religion, and I'm not saying everybody, I'm just saying in general, I've noticed, especially the liberals that we see that don't believe in anything but what they have so far, furries, and we're not going to go down that road, but
I've always believed that there's the spiritual part of religion and there's the ethical part of religion.
Absolutely.
The spiritual part, not everybody accepts. And maybe it's a gift. I believe it's a gift. If you've been given the gift of faith, the ability to have faith.
What's positivity?
And to have the ability to embrace the spiritual. It's also an act of humility that you don't know everything. That like a lot of the Ivy League jackasses that have hurt us so much by being Marxists embrace that because you got to be stupid to believe in God. You actually have to be stupid to be an atheist because there's no possible way that you can prove scientifically that being an atheist is correct. Tell me how the world began.
There is no science to it.
Tell me how the world began. I'm sorry, none of us are smart enough to know how the world began.
No.
And therefore,
everyone has fear.
We're open to have. We should be all free to have our own views of that.
Yes, we each should have our own views of that, not be forced into a migratory idea of it.
Right. So I can respect an agnostic.
Me too.
Not an atheist. An atheist, I consider the way they consider people of religion stupid.
Based on their logic.
Yes, I consider atheists stupid and extremely arrogant. That they know more than they know more than you can know.
Yeah. Well, my father asked me, he goes, "What do you know?" I said, "No, nothing. I'm still learning. I'm always learning."
Yeah. And it reminds me, not to get terribly biblical, but it really is the original sin. The original sin is the Satan saying to Eve, "If you eat the fruit here, you'll know as much or more than God." And she really believed she could. So she ate it, and then she gave it to Adam, and he really believed he could, and they ended up getting thrown out of the out of paradise because they didn't have the virtue of humility.
Exactly.
And of course, and here, Greek philosophy started with the same premise, except a little different. Socrates saying, "The beginning of wisdom is to know that you don't know."
Exactly.
So I think one from a philosophical point of view and the other from a theological point of view are really making the same point of what constitutes a wise human being.
Exactly. I concur 1,000%.
So tell me what you think, what you expect to see now. When was the last time you were there? You going to London?
Yes, I was there in, I believe it was January. I was there.
Did you go to a play that you told me about?
I did.
What was it? What was
I don't remember. I go to so many. I don't remember which one.
Your father told me about it. Did you go with your father or by yourself?
No, it was by myself. My father was
so maybe
in
you told me about a play you went to see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what was it like? So it can't be terribly different.
There are a lot of
couldn't have gotten much worse.
No, it hasn't gotten much worse since I've been there, on and off for the past decade, visiting and with people. But you do notice they have signs on the side of the roads now where it says, "Don't step beyond this point. Your phone might get robbed." So this is, this is a question I say, "Oh my gosh, well, I shouldn't be on my phone out in public." I was there recently with a mutual friend of ours, in October. And, I was walking home and he said, please, somebody send her in a car. She's, a lady by herself. She should not be walking at this time. And he was right. And he got very mad when he found out that we were walking. And that later that night, that's when that man got stabbed for his watch in front of the casino.
By a Muslim.
Yes.
It can be a surprise to me because I haven't been to London, I'm going to say at least 6 years, could be 8. I used to go 2 or 3 times a year. So I was very familiar with it. And I used to go to London about an equal amount of times to Paris, maybe a little more to London.
Both are bad.
And I saw Paris. I remember my ex-wife, who spoke French, loved to go on those trips with me to Paris, stopped because she was really nervous about the Islamic influence.
Really?
In fact, it used to drive her crazy.
What year was this?
We would say the George Sank. Okay.
We all love the George Sank.
Well, the George Sank. I mean, my goodness, right? All of a sudden, the last 2 or 3 times she went with me, the George Sank, we'd go to dinner and women would be having their soup like this.
Oh.
And a whole bunch of them all around. And she said, they're taking over. And I said, I do not understand. Since it really isn't a religion, I can do this. If it were a religion, I wouldn't do this because it's sacrilegious. But it's really kind of impractical to keep it on. You might as well just take it off for a little while. You could put it like this and I wouldn't see very much. And you could have, if I just see the tip of your nose, it can't be much of a sin. But all you're doing is getting your damn veil dirty with soup by doing this. I mean, it's like,
well, and you
is this
see,
because it was a religion that came out of Bedouin desert and they don't have manners?
well, certain countries that they do follow the hijab and the burqa. Other countries, I learned Arabic in Jordan.
It's the I used to think that when they had all the masks on, this was really a good thing, really a very good thing for ugly women, but really, really bad for pretty women, right? And they were just couldn't wait to take it off.
Well, can we talk about the fact that here we have the niece and the daughter or the mother of the niece of
One of them's not wearing any clothes.
barely wearing anything covering
The poor lady had a little hair coming out, and they tortured her and killed her.
Yeah, and here they are living in America, lavish lifestyles, and they're not getting penalized for that.
And they go back and forth to Iran.
And I know, I have a lot of Persian friends.
And they were doing the bidding of the regime, putting out messages for the regime. So the regime are using, they would probably call it impure women to do this.
They are murdering doctors and nurses in the hospitals, going in and they point blank shot all the protesters in the head. IRGC point blank shot them. They took a couple nurses that I've heard about, raped them so bad that they had to have hysterectomies. And because they took a sworn oath to protect and to save any human life, regardless of your political or religious view.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to the Quran, I'll have to find it. If you go to the Quran and then several of the hadiths interpreting it, Muhammad did recommend that you punish them before you kill them if you get the chance.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if it's a war and you just got to kill them, kill them. But if you have time, it is better if you rape them and beat them and cut their tongues out and do things in front of their children or do things in front of their parents, like what they did on January 7
Mm-hmm.
was not January.
It was the beginning of January.
Yeah, okay, but that was the date of the attack, right? January 7th. What they did, people don't realize, is a formula. It's a formula that they follow under the religion.
Yes.
They don't just kill. When they can, they torture.
They torture, they kill.
The infidel.
Of course. It doesn't matter who you are. Even your own people, if even the own people, if they
And
get you there.
Moses or Jesus taught them that.
That's hard to digest.
I mean, that's not a religion. And that has legal implications.
Well,
They shouldn't be allowed to have the privileges and the immunities that a religion has, like from taxation and other things. It's a religion that advocates terrorism. The best example of it is the major terrorism groups in the world embrace it. I mean, the rest of terrorism in the world pales in comparison to Muslim terrorism.
well, the radical, and they have these strong beliefs that, they're gonna, the Twelthers, or they're gonna get, what they can by destruction, pure destruction, world domination, the apocalypse.
Yeah.
That's what they really believe. And I know a lot of other Muslims around the world that don't believe that,
And we don't at all follow what goes on in Africa.
which is
Every single one of those wars are Muslims slaughtering
Christians.
Christians. Yeah.
Christians.
Aren't any Jews there? If there were Jews, they'd slaughter them too. And slaughtering native population.
Mhm.
Well, you have to come back and give us a full report. Do you like to take pictures?
I always do.
Well, take some pictures.
Of course.
Take some pictures of this stuff. I mean, I think for me, it's going to be like a culture shock because people that go there go there all the time. You see it over a period of time. So when you go back now, it may have gotten worse, but by that much, that much, right?
Hmm.
But if I go, it's going to have gotten worse by that much.
But I'll send you pictures and you'll let me know.
Yeah, I'm going to try to figure out accurately when the last time I was in Paris was 6 years ago. That I remember. I think. No, I was in Paris once after that. I was in Paris a year ago.
Oh no.
London, been a while. It wasn't like that. I mean, I know it wasn't like that. I would have been sensitive. If there's no doubt, if I go back 10 years, Paris was ahead of London, and in becoming Muslim, and I believe that London is ahead of Paris now, and I think Piers Morgan has closed his eyes to it because he's being a Anglophile.
Well, typical Marxism happening around the world over there.
He said that only 6% of the population of Great Britain is Muslim. And I've seen it more at 13 or 18%. We'll have to check that and find out.
They're coming in by yachts.
They're coming in by yacht?
By yachts.
So these are not, I mean, the first group that came in, the group committing the crimes.
Yeah.
Well, that's not true. A large ones committing the crime are the, I don't know, the regular people, right? The regular Muslim killers.
Right.
But now a lot of the rich are coming in, right?
Well,
But they always had a lot of the rich
well,
Muslims.
they've left. They're leaving the country now. They are leaving the country
because a
they
lot of them don't
feel
buy
safe-
this. A lot
they
of them
feel
don't buy
safe
this
there
stuff.
either. I have a lot of friends that are there, and they're leaving.
You think that if I
Well-
ask one of these sites here,
Maybe
they'll tell me the truth,
no,
or they'll lie to me?
no.
They lie all the time. I had a fight with one. I had a fight with one of them today. I always have fights with them. I put little tricky things in there. I said, I asked them about fatwas, and I said, and somehow I said, they tried to kill me, and then they sent back to me. We checked, and there are no registered fatwas on you. I said, well, would you check 2018? And they said, oh, yeah.
Well,
Oh, yeah. And then they came up with about 6 after I pushed them. But they hide them. They hide them.
Didn't Elon prove this? That
Yeah.
a
Oh, yeah,
lot of
yeah,
these-
yeah, yeah. I mean, well, two of them, the people went to jail. I mean, they said, well, they did attempt to kill you, but it wasn't a fatwa. And then they looked back and they said, oh, yeah, there was.
What do we believe now? And that's the other
Okay.
thing.
They attempted to kill me twice, but there wasn't a fatwa. So we've got to spend a little time talking about these things, and then we're going to get off right away because we want them to go over to listen to Dr. Maria.
Thank you, Madeline.
Thank you.
Thank
for
you
having
very
me.
much,
Good
Madeline.
To see you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. First thing, but you just stay there for a minute because I'm going to finish up. I may want to ask you about this. NATO. Should we just get out of it? I'm thinking about it. I haven't come to a final conclusion yet. I don't know. I think we should kick I don't think we should get out. It's I mean, why don't we kick out Western Europe and have a NATO with Eastern Europe? Poland wants to fight. Latvia wants to fight. Estonia and Lithuania want to fight. Sweden just joined NATO. Well, Sweden just joined NATO. They hadn't joined it all this time because they're worried about Russia. And they're worried about Russia. And they say no to us. Not so smart, Kier communist armor. Not so smart. Macron, why don't you ask your wife? She's tough, not like you. You're a sissy boy. Go talk to her. She'll slap you around and say, you better listen to Trump. He's got balls. You don't. Who's going to protect us against the Russians? You? With your short pants on? When's the last time that France won a war?
Oh.
Well, before Napoleon was defeated in Moscow, right? Even Napoleon couldn't win. It probably wasn't Napoleon, it was your troops. I told Trump when he first went into office, he wanted to win a war. He should declare war against France, and they would just they'd surrender. We got to do a little treaty, and it would be fine. I could do 10 stories on anti-Semitism every time I'm on. So and they just revealed in a little study they did that NPR, after the attack on the synagogue in Michigan, never interviewed any of the people that were almost killed, including the children who were terrorized by the Islamic murderer, attempted murderer. But they went and interviewed his family over in one of those godforsaken countries. The poor things remember, some of his family had been killed. And then it turned out his family were high-ranking Hezbollah members. So they all got interviewed sympathetically by National Public Radio. But none of the poor Jewish kids or teachers who almost got killed by this big truck coming into the synagogue. It's okay. I mean, they're supposed to get killed, but not the Hezbollah people. Hezbollah people were the victims. I told you something's going on in China. We're going to look more into that if we can. You oust 3 major members of the Politburo in one day when you've already gotten rid of your entire general staff. Something's going on. Bare minimum, there's tremendous instability because he is getting nowhere in solving the economic problem of China because it's getting worse. And they've just had to downgrade their prediction of growth. In other words, they can't lie as much as they were going to lie. And there are reports of demonstrations against them. And there are reports of something close to starvation standards in different parts of China and not the third world parts.
Mm-hmm.
So they have tremendous control over China, but there is only 100 million of them. And then there's another 1.1 billion more Chinese. And I don't know among the 100 million how dedicated they all are, particularly to Xi Jinping, who's been very, very tough on them. He uses this corruption charge, and he's corrupt as hell, so I can't imagine he uses it legitimately. I did mention I don't understand what Europe thinks it's doing. They are frightened as hell that if Russia takes Ukraine, they're going to start taking other parts of Europe and also try to dominate them in terms of energy extortion. Well, I mean, tough shit. If Russia would like to enter an alliance with us against China, and The countries in Europe that are loyal to us will exempt from whatever Russia wants to do. The other ones, you're on your own. I do not understand why we have to pay for the defense of these countries. I think this all just stems from something that happened about 6 or 7 years ago when Trump was with Abe, his very close friend. And Trump said, I don't understand, Prime Minister, how it is that if China bombs you or uses even a nuclear weapon again, I have to use a nuclear weapon against China as a matter of treaty. But if China attacks me, you don't have to. I don't understand that. Shouldn't be that way. Got to straighten that out. No use having an alliance in paper only. What good does it do? It costs you money. And you could use it on something, but take that money and use it with Poland or use it with Hungary that'll be loyal to us. Or use it with the Baltic countries that'll be loyal to us. Or use it over with Japan. Please, you got to distinguish Japan from Italy, England, France, Germany, all these places. Japan has a law that doesn't allow them to participate in military actions. That's what Abe was trying to get removed. And that's what Takahishi's election represents, her willingness to do that. And 61% of the Japanese people want to do it, but it hasn't been done yet. So they got lumped in that first group, but and then she came over here especially to tell President Trump that. She wasn't supposed to come. Remember, she made a trip 10 days ago. She came over and she explained to President Trump, this is what I'm trying to change. She said, in fact, I'll do it anyway. He said, no, don't get impeached. It's not fun. And we don't need it that bad. If we needed it that bad, I'd ask you to do it. So you got to put Japan in a separate category. I see them eventually. Japan and South Korea. We've done some good in getting them together a little bit. If we could calm that down, we'd have two very strong allies there. Philippines doesn't have the military strength or background, but they've got a lot of economic possibilities, and they're very, very, very strong opponents of Red China. Mm-hmm. Deep in the soul, like the Japanese, even more so than the South Koreans. South Koreans about split in half. So, Ted,
Mayor,
people should go watch Dr. Maria,
Lindell TV.
not the crooked NCAA, which is really a professional league that pays some of its players $20 and $30 million, which is absurd, completely, absolutely disgusting and absurd. And probably tonight, more money is being bet on that than it would take to feed all the poor people in this country. Mm-hmm. And that's all because, happily we've gone along with the communist attempt to make us completely amoral, which includes accepting gambling, accepting prostitution, and accepting these whole Iranian IRGC women. Man, Soleimani had a bunch of hoes. Some Muslim. That's what Muhammad promises them in paradise. Paradise is going to be a big orgy. I know there are probably some of you that want that, but it doesn't make for a good world, my friend, or for good children, or for much productivity. So let's pray deeply now, because they really are at risk for the people of Iran, for the people of Ukraine, for the people of Israel, for the people in the United States, and of course, for the president. And let's pray for the people of Iran especially. I do think that tomorrow night, hell is going to rain down on them. I don't see any other possibility. I do not see the Iranians agreeing to what he's asked. They've already come back with 15 points, all of which are completely unacceptable. They've taunted him enough. And I think one and massive big blow will take them out. I think they're ready, like a fight. Their legs are wobbly. They've been down 2-3 times. It's now time to put them through the ropes. Let's see what happens. We'll see you tomorrow night. Go over to Wendell TV, and God bless America. It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk,